Emotions are the invisible currents that run through every moment of our lives. They color our memories, shape our decisions, and connect us to one another in ways words sometimes cannot reach. They are ancient, evolved over millions of years to help us survive and thrive. They are universal, yet deeply personal. They are chemical reactions in the brain, yet they feel like the very essence of what it means to be alive. Tonight, we'll drift gently through 100 quiet truths about emotions. From the evolutionary origins written into our nervous systems, to the complex feelings that emerge in modern life. From the tears of newborns to the wisdom of age. From the rush of falling in love to the hollow ache of loss. Some of what you hear might surprise you. Other parts might feel familiar, like meeting an old friend you've known all along. And just before we begin, if these calm explorations help you unwind or offer you a peaceful way to end your day, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It helps others find their way here too, one restful soul at a time. Now, let's begin. Emotions begin in the brain, but they live everywhere. When you feel something, truly feel it. It isn't happening in one place. The experience of emotion is orchestrated by multiple regions of your brain working in concert. The amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure deep in the temporal lobe, acts as an emotional alarm system. It processes threats, registers fear, and helps you react before you've even consciously understood what's happening. The prefrontal cortex, sitting just behind your forehead, helps regulate those responses, allowing you to think through your feelings rather than simply reacting to them. The insula tracks the internal state of your body, translating physical sensations into emotional awareness. The hippocampus links emotions to memories, which is why a certain smell can transport you instantly back to childhood, or why a song can summon feelings you thought you'd forgotten. And the hypothalamus coordinates the physical responses, triggering the release of hormones that prepare your body to fight, flee, or freeze. Emotions are not just thoughts, they are full-body experiences, woven through your nervous system like threads in cloth. Every emotion has a chemical signature. When you feel joy, your brain releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with reward and pleasure. Serotonin contributes to feelings of contentment and well-being. When you experience love or connection, oxytocin flows through your system, sometimes called the bonding hormone. It's released during hugs, during childbirth, when nursing a baby, and in moments of deep trust. Fear triggers the release of adrenaline and cortisol, chemicals that sharpen your senses and prepare your body for action. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense. Blood flows away from your digestive system and towards your limbs. Even sadness has its chemistry. Lower levels of serotonin and dopamine are associated with depression and grief. These aren't just abstract concepts, they are measurable changes happening inside you right now. Subtle shifts in the balance of molecules that influence how you perceive the world and your place in it. Emotions evolved to help us survive. Long before humans developed language or built cities, our ancestors needed ways to respond quickly to their environment. Researchers believe that fear kept them alive when predators lurked nearby. Disgust, evidence suggests, prevented them from eating spoiled food or touching contaminated sources. Anger likely mobilized energy to defend resources or protect loved ones. Joy appears to have reinforced behaviors that led to survival, like finding food, forming social bonds, or reproducing. Sadness, though painful, may have evolved to signal loss and prompt others to offer support. Even complex emotions like shame and guilt likely emerge to maintain social cohesion, helping ensure that individuals stay connected to their groups. Our emotional systems are ancient, refined over countless generations, designed not for the modern world of deadlines and social media, but for the challenges of surviving in small groups on open plains and in dense forests. We carry that evolutionary inheritance with us still, feeling the echoes of ancestral fears and joys in our daily lives. There are 6 universally recognized emotions. In the 1970s, psychologist Paul Ekman conducted research suggesting that certain facial expressions are recognized across cultures, regardless of language or background. These 6 basic emotions are happiness, sadness, fear, anger, surprise, and disgust. Whether you're in a remote village in Papua New Guinea or a bustling city in Japan, a smile signals joy. A furrowed brow and tightened lips indicate anger. Wide eyes and an open mouth convey surprise. These expressions appear to be hardwired into our biology, arising in infants before they've had time to learn them through observation. They suggest that beneath the vast diversity of human culture lies a shared emotional foundation, a common language written into our faces and our nervous systems. But this is only the beginning. Beyond these basic 6 lie countless variations and blends, subtle shades of feeling that language struggles to capture. Emotions are not the same as feelings. Though we often use the words interchangeably, scientists make a distinction. An emotion is the physiological response, the cascade of neural and chemical changes that happen automatically in response to a stimulus. A feeling is your conscious experience of that response, the subjective interpretation that arises when your mind registers what your body is doing. You might experience the emotion of fear, your heart racing and palms sweating, before you consciously feel afraid. This distinction matters because it suggests that emotions happen to us, while feelings involve awareness and interpretation. We can't always control our emotions, but we can learn to observe and understand our feelings, creating space between the automatic response and our conscious reaction. Babies are born with emotions. Even before they can speak or understand language, infants display clear emotional responses. A newborn will startle at loud noises, showing fear. They cry when hungry or uncomfortable, expressing distress. They smile, often in their sleep at first, and later in response to familiar faces, showing the beginnings of joy. By a few months old, babies exhibit anger when a desired toy is taken away, and surprise when something unexpected happens. These early emotions are not learned. They emerge naturally as the infant's nervous system develops, evidence that emotions are fundamental to human nature. As the child grows, these basic responses will be shaped and refined by culture, language, and experience. But the foundation is there from the very beginning, a core emotional repertoire that connects us to our humanity. Cultural context shapes how we express and interpret emotions. While the basic emotions may be universal, the rules about when, where, and how to express them vary dramatically across cultures. In some societies, openly displaying anger is seen as a loss of control and a sign of weakness. In others, it may be viewed as a justified response to injustice. Some cultures encourage the open expression of grief through wailing and public mourning rituals. Others value stoicism and restraint in the face of loss. Even positive emotions are subject to cultural norms. In many Western cultures, personal happiness is highly valued and openly pursued. In some Eastern cultures, excessive focus on individual happiness may be viewed as selfish, with greater emphasis placed on harmony and collective well-being. These cultural scripts influence not just how we show our emotions, but how we experience them internally. The same physiological response might be interpreted differently depending on the cultural context, shaping the feeling that emerges. Emotions can be contagious. If you've ever walked into a room and immediately sensed tension before a word was spoken, or found yourself laughing helplessly because everyone around you was laughing, even though you didn't hear the joke, you've experienced emotional contagion. This is the phenomenon where we unconsciously mimic and absorb the emotions of those around us, like ripples spreading across water. It happens through subtle cues that we register below conscious awareness. The micro movements of facial expressions, the set of shoulders, the quality of someone's breathing, the pitch and rhythm of their voice, even the way they're holding their body. Mirror neurons in our brains fire both when we perform an action and when we observe someone else performing it, creating a neural basis for this automatic empathy and emotional resonance. When you see someone smile, the muscles in your own face make tiny movements towards smiling, even if you're not aware of it. When you see someone in pain, your own pain networks activate. This mirroring creates a kind of emotional echo inside you, a visceral sense of what the other person is feeling. This contagion appears to have served crucial evolutionary purposes based on what researchers have observed. In our ancestral groups, emotional synchrony helped coordinate responses to threats and opportunities. If one member of the tribe sensed danger and displayed fear, widened eyes, tense posture, shallow breathing, others would pick up on those signals and become alert, their own nervous systems preparing for action even without knowing the source of the threat. This allowed the group to respond collectively and quickly. Similarly, if someone showed excitement about finding food or water, that excitement would spread, mobilizing the group toward the resource. Emotional contagion created a kind of group mind, an emergent coordination that increased survival chances. Today, this ancient mechanism still shapes our social world in countless ways. It influences the mood in an office, where one person's stress or negativity can spread like a virus, or where one person's enthusiasm can lift the entire team. It affects families, where a parent's anxiety can unconsciously transfer to children, or where one family member's calm presence can soothe everyone. It shows up in crowds, where emotions can amplify rapidly, creating the exhilaration of a concert, the tension of a protest, or the panic of a stampede. Emotional contagion is not always unconscious. Sometimes we deliberately use it. A speaker might tell a story designed to evoke a specific emotion in the audience. A friend might adopt a calm tone to help soothe you when you're upset. A coach might display confidence to inspire their team. But most of the time, emotional contagion happens automatically, beneath the level of conscious control. This means that the emotional states of the people you spend time with have a real impact on your own emotional well-being. Chronic exposure to negativity, cynicism, or anxiety can gradually erode your own mood. Conversely, spending time with people who are generally positive, warm, or calm can have a lifting, stabilizing effect. This is not about toxic positivity or avoiding people who are struggling. Supporting friends through difficult emotions is part of genuine connection, but it does suggest the value of being intentional about the emotional environments you create and inhabit, of surrounding yourself when possible with people whose presence nourishes rather than depletes you, and of being aware of your own emotional influence on others. Your emotions don't just affect you, they ripple outward, touching everyone you encounter in ways both seen and unseen. Crying serves multiple functions. Tears are often associated with sadness, but they're far more complex and multifaceted than that simple connection suggests. Humans produce 3 distinct types of tears, each with its own purpose. Basal tears continuously lubricate the eyes, washing away dust and debris, keeping the cornea smooth and clear for vision. You're producing them right now, though you're unaware of it. Reflex tears respond to irritants, The tears that stream when you chop onions or when something gets in your eye. These tears help flush out foreign substances and protect the delicate tissues. But emotional tears, triggered by feelings, are unique to humans. No other animal appears to cry emotional tears. Scientists are still working to fully understand why we evolved this capability. But emotional tears are chemically different from the other types. They contain higher levels of stress hormones, like adrenocorticotropic hormone and the natural painkiller leucine and enkephalin. Some researchers have proposed that crying may help remove these chemicals from the body, providing a form of emotional and physiological release. After a good cry, many people report feeling calmer, lighter, as if pressure has been released. This might be partly because you've literally cried out some of the stress chemistry. Crying also serves crucial social functions. It signals distress to others, potentially eliciting care and support. This is most obvious in infants, whose cries are their primary means of communication, alerting caregivers to needs for food, comfort, or protection. But even in adulthood, tears communicate vulnerability and need in ways that words sometimes cannot. They can bridge distances in relationships, softening conflicts, and inviting compassion. When someone sees you cry, it often activates their empathy and caregiving impulses. Tears can also signal authenticity and depth of feeling. In many contexts, crying indicates that something matters profoundly, that you're not just going through the motions, but are genuinely moved. We cry at weddings, not from sadness, but from joy, from the beauty of witnessing love. We cry at funerals, not just from grief, but from the weight of loss, from the recognition of how much someone meant. We cry watching movies, listening to music, or witnessing acts of courage or kindness, because something has touched us deeply. These tears are not signs of weakness, but evidence of a rich inner life, of the capacity to be moved by beauty, loss, connection, and meaning. Interestingly, while tears are universal, the social acceptability of crying varies dramatically across cultures and contexts. Some cultures view tears as a sign of weakness, particularly in men, where crying might be seen as unmasculine or unprofessional. Other cultures embrace tears as a healthy, authentic expression of emotion. In some mourning traditions, public wailing and crying are not just accepted, but expected. In many Western corporate environments, crying is seen as embarrassing or inappropriate, something to apologize for. These social norms affect not just whether people cry publicly, but whether they allow themselves to cry at all, even in private. But regardless of cultural scripts, the physiological and emotional experience of crying remains a deeply human response to overwhelming feelings, whether those feelings are sad, joyful, frustrated, or moved. The tears themselves might be the same salt water, but what they carry is the full weight of being human, of feeling deeply, of being affected by life in all its beauty and pain. To cry is to acknowledge that something matters enough to break through your composure, to soften the boundaries you usually maintain. And while we can't always control when tears come, perhaps there's wisdom in allowing them when they do, in trusting that your body knows something about what you need to release. Laughter is more than just a response to humor. We often think of laughter as something that happens when we find something funny, but research shows that most laughter occurs in social situations and is not directly related to jokes. People laugh to signal friendliness, to ease tension, to show agreement, or simply to bond with others. Laughter triggers the release of endorphins, the body's natural feel-good chemicals, creating a mild euphoria. It also decreases stress hormones and can temporarily relieve pain. Studies have shown that laughter improves immune function and cardiovascular health. It's a form of social glue, strengthening relationships and creating shared moments of joy. Interestingly, laughter is contagious, often more so than negative emotions. Hearing someone else laugh activates regions in your brain associated with facial movements and laughter, priming you to join in. Even forced or fake laughter can trigger some of these positive effects, which is why laughter, yoga, and similar practices have gained popularity as tools for improving well-being. Fear can be learned and unlearned. Some fears appear to be innate or very easily acquired, likely because they protected our ancestors from common threats that persisted across evolutionary time. Infants who cannot yet walk show wariness of heights when placed on a visual cliff, a clear surface over what appears to be a drop. They've had no negative experiences with falling, yet they hesitate, suggesting this fear is built into our biology. Fear of snakes and spiders can develop with minimal or even secondhand exposure, suggesting an evolutionary preparedness to fear these creatures that were genuine threats for millions of years. Small children can develop these fears after seeing just a single image or watching someone else react with fear, demonstrating how efficiently our brains learn to fear evolutionarily relevant dangers. But many fears, perhaps most of the fears that trouble us in modern life, are learned through direct experience, observation, or information. If you're bitten by a dog as a child, your brain creates a powerful association between dogs and danger, and you may develop a lasting fear of all dogs, even friendly ones. This is classical conditioning at work, the same mechanism Ivan Pavlov demonstrated with his dogs, but now working to create anxiety rather than salivation. If you see someone you trust, a parent or older sibling, react with terror to thunderstorms, you may adopt that fear yourself through observational learning. Your brain essentially reasons, if this person I rely on is terrified of this thing, it must be dangerous. I should be afraid too. Even just hearing about dangers can create fear. Children develop fears of things they've never encountered, monsters under the bed, kidnappers, plane crashes based on stories, news reports, or warnings from adults. The good news, the genuinely hopeful news, is that learned fears can often be unlearned through a process called extinction. This isn't about erasing the fear memory, which remains stored in the brain, but about creating a new, stronger memory that inhibits it. Extinction happens through repeated safe exposure to the feared stimulus. If you're afraid of dogs and you gradually, gently, at your own pace, spend time around calm, friendly dogs without anything bad happening, your brain begins to create new associations. Dogs aren't always dangerous. This dog is safe. I can be near dogs without being harmed. Over time, and with enough safe experiences, this new learning can become dominant, effectively overriding the fear response. This principle underlies many therapeutic approaches to phobias and anxiety disorders. Exposure therapy, one of the most effective treatments for phobias, involves gradually and systematically facing the feared object or situation in a controlled, safe environment. A person afraid of flying might start by looking at pictures of planes, then visiting an airport, then sitting in a stationary plane, gradually building up to a short flight, each step proving that they can survive the experience. Cognitive behavioral therapy combines exposure with challenging the catastrophic thoughts that maintain the fear. Virtual reality is now being used to create safe exposure experiences for fears like heights, public speaking, or combat-related trauma. The brain is remarkably capable of creating new associations, of learning that what once seemed dangerous can actually be safe. Neural pathways that fire together wire together, and with repeated safe experiences, new pathways can become stronger than old fear pathways. This doesn't mean the work is easy. Facing fears is inherently uncomfortable, which is why therapeutic approaches emphasize gradual exposure and building a sense of safety and control. But the fundamental message is one of possibility. Fear, though it feels fixed and permanent, though it can grip you with such intensity that it seems like an unchangeable fact of who you are, is often more flexible than we realize. The fears you carry today are not necessarily the fears you'll carry forever. With courage, support, and often professional help, you can teach your brain new stories about safety, expanding the territory in which you can move freely in the world. Anger is often a secondary emotion. When someone cuts you off in traffic, or a colleague takes credit for your work, you might feel an immediate surge of anger, but beneath that anger often lies another emotion. It might be fear, the sudden jolt of almost being in an accident. It might be hurt, the pain of feeling undervalued or disrespected. Anger is sometimes described as a protective emotion, a way of covering vulnerability with something that feels more powerful and controlled. Recognizing this can be transformative. When you pause to ask, what's beneath the anger, you may discover the real source of your distress. This doesn't mean anger is invalid or should be suppressed. Anger can be a healthy response to injustice and a catalyst for change, but understanding its roots allows you to respond more effectively, addressing the underlying need rather than simply reacting to the surface emotion. Emotions affect decision-making in surprising ways. We like to think of ourselves as rational beings who make decisions based on logic and careful analysis, but emotions play a far larger role than most of us realize. Studies show that people with damage to brain regions involved in emotion, particularly the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, struggle to make even simple decisions. Without emotional input, they can analyze options endlessly but cannot settle on a choice. This is because emotions provide valuable information. They act as somatic markers, physical signals that guide us toward or away from certain options based on past experiences and predicted outcomes. A gut feeling of unease might warn you away from a risky investment. A sense of excitement might draw you toward a new opportunity. The key is balance. Emotions can lead us astray when they're based on biases or irrelevant associations, but they can also access wisdom that pure logic misses. The most effective decision makers learn to integrate both rational analysis and emotional intelligence. Nostalgia is a bittersweet emotion with surprising benefits. The word nostalgia originally referred to a medical condition, a form of severe homesickness experienced by Swiss mercenaries in the 17th century. Today, we understand nostalgia as a common emotional experience, a longing for the past that blends pleasure and pain. When you feel nostalgic, you're often remembering a time when life felt simpler, safer, or more meaningful. Research shows that nostalgia serves important psychological functions. It can boost mood, increase feelings of social connectedness, and provide a sense of continuity and meaning in life. When people feel lonely or uncertain, nostalgic memories can remind them of times when they felt loved and secure. Interestingly, nostalgia tends to be selective, focusing on positive aspects of the past while glossing over difficulties. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. These rose-tinted memories can provide comfort and resilience in challenging times. The past, in this sense, becomes a resource, a place we can visit in our minds to gather strength for the present. Shame and guilt are different emotions with different effects. Both involve negative self-evaluation, but they focus on different aspects of the self. Guilt arises when you believe you've done something wrong. It focuses on the behavior and often motivates reparative action. I made a mistake. and I should make it right. Shame, on the other hand, focuses on the self as fundamentally flawed. I am a mistake. There's something wrong with me. This distinction has profound implications. Guilt, while uncomfortable, can be constructive. It alerts you to a violation of your values and prompts you to change your behavior or make amends. Shame tends to be destructive. It can lead to withdrawal, defensiveness, and even aggression as people try to escape the painful feeling of being inherently defective. Research by psychologists Brent C. Brown and others has shown that shame is correlated with addiction, depression, violence, and other harmful outcomes, while guilt is correlated with positive behaviors like empathy and taking responsibility. Learning to distinguish between the two and cultivating self-compassion can help transform shame into the more productive emotion of guilt. Emotions influence our physical health in measurable ways. The connection between mind and body is not just metaphorical or philosophical. It's biological, biochemical, and observable under scientific scrutiny. Chronic stress and negative emotions can weaken the immune system, making you more susceptible to everything from the common cold to more serious illnesses. When you're chronically stressed or anxious, your body produces elevated levels of cortisol, a stress hormone that in short bursts is helpful, but in sustained amounts suppresses immune function. Studies have shown that people under chronic stress have fewer natural killer cells, the white blood cells that fight viruses and cancer, and produce fewer antibodies in response to vaccines. Chronic negative emotions also increase inflammation throughout the body. Inflammation is part of the immune response, helpful in acute situations like fighting an infection or healing an injury, but chronic low-level inflammation is linked to a staggering range of health problems: heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, Alzheimer's disease, depression, and various autoimmune disorders. Researchers found that people with chronic anger, hostility, or depression have higher levels of inflammatory markers in their blood. The emotional state of your mind is literally creating an inflammatory state in your tissues. Prolonged anger and hostility specifically have been associated with higher rates of cardiovascular disease. The constant activation of the fight or flight response, the surge of adrenaline and cortisol, the elevation of blood pressure and heart rate, all of this takes a cumulative toll on the cardiovascular system. Studies following people over decades have found that those who score high on measures of hostility and cynicism have significantly higher rates of heart attacks and strokes. The heart, that organ so often used as a metaphor for emotion, is literally affected by the emotions you carry. Depression and anxiety don't just affect your mood, they affect sleep patterns, often causing insomnia or disrupted sleep, which in turn affects virtually every system in the body. They affect appetite, either suppressing it or driving stress eating, leading to malnutrition or weight gain. They affect energy levels, creating fatigue that makes it hard to exercise or engage in health-promoting activities. They affect pain perception, with studies showing that anxiety and depression can amplify the experience of physical pain and make chronic pain conditions worse. The mind and body are not separate systems that occasionally influence each other. They are one integrated system. On the other side of the equation, positive emotions appear to have genuinely protective effects on physical health. People who report higher levels of happiness, life satisfaction, and positive emotional states tend to have stronger immune function, producing more antibodies and having more active natural killer cells. They tend to have lower blood pressure, healthier cortisol patterns, and reduced inflammation. They even tend to live longer. Multiple large studies following thousands of people over many years have found that people who report greater happiness and life satisfaction have significantly lower mortality rates, even after controlling for factors like initial health status, socioeconomic status, and health behaviors. Laughter, as mentioned earlier, has measurable health benefits that go beyond the momentary pleasure. It reduces stress hormones, increases endorphins, improves circulation, and may even boost immune function. Some studies suggest that laughter increases the production of antibodies and activates immune cells. So does gratitude. Studies on gratitude practices have found improvements in sleep quality, with people falling asleep faster and sleeping more deeply. Regular gratitude practice has been associated with reduced symptoms of depression and anxiety, lower blood pressure, and improvements in overall well-being. These aren't just feel-good platitudes. These are measurable changes in biological markers of health. The mind and body are not separate systems. They are deeply, intricately, inexorably interconnected, with emotions serving as a bridge, or perhaps more accurately, as proof that the division between mental and physical was always artificial. What you feel affects every cell in your body, your thoughts, your emotional habits, your relationships, the meaning you make of your experiences. All of these influence your physical health in ways both subtle and profound. This is not to suggest that illness is simply a matter of attitude, or that you can think your way to health. Disease has many causes, many beyond our control. But it is to recognize that emotional well-being is not a luxury separate from physical health. It is an essential component of it, woven into the very fabric of how your body functions. Surprise is the shortest emotion. Of all the basic emotions, surprise lasts the briefest amount of time. It's a neural interruption, a momentary pause when your brain encounters something unexpected and needs to rapidly assess whether it's a threat or an opportunity. Surprise can quickly morph into other emotions. If you turn a corner and someone jumps out yelling, "Happy birthday," the initial surprise may turn to joy. If it's a stranger in a dark alley, that surprise becomes fear. The fleeting nature of surprise makes sense evolutionarily. In unpredictable environments, our ancestors needed to rapidly evaluate novel situations and respond appropriately. Lingering in surprise could be dangerous. The brain's job is to make sense of the unexpected as quickly as possible, and then move into an appropriate emotional and behavioral response. But that brief moment of pure surprise before interpretation sets in is a reminder of how much our brains are constantly predicting and how jarring it can be when reality doesn't match our expectations. Love is not a single emotion, but a complex blend. When we talk about love, we're actually referring to several distinct but deeply related experiences, a constellation of feelings and drives that connect us to others and shape the meaning of our lives. There's passionate love, that intense, often short-lived romantic attraction characterized by euphoria, intrusive thoughts about the beloved, sexual desire, and a desperate need for closeness. Brain imaging studies show that this type of love activates reward centers in the brain, similar to those activated by addictive drugs, flooding the system with dopamine and creating a natural high. This is why new love can feel intoxicating, why you can't stop thinking about the person, why their presence fills you with joy and their absence with longing. It's also why this intensity usually doesn't last. The brain can't sustain that level of activation indefinitely. Then there's companionate love, the deep affection and attachment that develops in long-term relationships. This type of love is less about fireworks and more about warmth, comfort, trust, and commitment. It's associated with oxytocin and vasopressin, hormones that promote bonding and reduce stress. Companionate love is what allows couples to stay together after the passionate phase fades, finding joy not in constant excitement, but in shared history, mutual support, and deep knowing. It's the love that makes you reach for your partner's hand without thinking, that creates a sense of home in their presence, that allows you to be fully yourself without performance or pretense. There's also unconditional love, the type often felt toward children or close family members. This love is characterized by deep care and protectiveness that doesn't depend on the other person's behavior or achievements. A parent's love for a child, at its best, persists through tantrums and teenage rebellion, through mistakes and failures. It says, "I love you not for what you do, but for who you are." This type of love activates caregiving systems in the brain, prompting nurturing behavior and creating powerful bonds. And there are different types of love depending on the relationship context. Romantic love combines passion, intimacy, and commitment in varying proportions. Familial love is grounded in shared history, identity, and often obligation, as well as affection. Platonic love between friends offers intimacy and trust without the romantic or sexual component. Self-love, often neglected but crucial, involves treating yourself with the same kindness and care you'd offer someone you love. Each type of love has its own emotional signature, its own patterns of brain activation, its own purpose in human life. Romantic love motivates pair bonding and reproduction. Parental love ensures caregiving and child survival. Friendship provides support, cooperation, and social belonging. Self-love supports resilience and well-being. What we call love is really a whole family of experiences, all variations on the fundamental theme of connection, of caring about someone or something beyond yourself, of finding meaning in relationship rather than isolation. Love in all its forms is what weaves the social fabric, what makes life worth living, what transforms existence from mere survival into something rich with purpose and joy. Disgust originally protected us from disease. The emotion of disgust, that visceral recoil you feel from certain smells, sights, or textures, evolved as a disease avoidance mechanism. Things that trigger disgust, like rotting food, feces, bodily fluids, and signs of infection, are often genuine health hazards. The emotion serves as a warning system, motivating you to avoid potential sources of contamination. Interestingly, disgust is one of the most culturally variable emotions. What disgusts people in one culture may be perfectly acceptable or even desirable in another. This suggests that while the basic disgust response is universal, it's also highly malleable, shaped by learning and cultural norms. Over time, disgust has also been co-opted for social and moral purposes. We describe immoral behavior as disgusting. We feel disgust toward people or groups we perceive as threatening or different. This expansion of disgust, beyond its original disease avoidance function, has complex social implications, sometimes contributing to prejudice and discrimination. Jealousy and envy are distinct but often confused. Jealousy involves three parties and centers on the fear of losing something you have, particularly in the context of relationships. You feel jealous when you perceive a threat to a valued relationship, fearing that someone might take away your partner's affection or attention. Envy, on the other hand, involves two parties and centers on wanting something someone else has. You feel envious when you desire another person's possessions, qualities, or accomplishments. Both emotions can be painful and are often considered negative, but they also provide information. Jealousy can alert you to threats, to important relationships, potentially motivating you to invest more in those connections. Envy can highlight what you value and desire, potentially motivating you to pursue your own goals. The key is what you do with these emotions. Unchecked jealousy can become possessive, and controlling. Unchecked envy can turn into resentment and bitterness. But when understood and managed, both emotions can be channeled into positive action. Emotional intelligence can be developed. Emotional intelligence, often abbreviated as EQ, refers to the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions and the emotions of others. It includes skills like emotional awareness, empathy, emotional regulation, and social skills. Unlike IQ, which tends to remain relatively stable throughout life, EQ can be developed and strengthened with practice. This happens through several means. Mindfulness meditation can increase emotional awareness by teaching you to observe your feelings without immediately reacting to them. Therapy and personal reflection can help you understand the patterns and triggers behind your emotions. Social experiences, especially those that challenge you to see things from others' perspectives, can build empathy. Even simply learning about emotions, understanding how they work, and why they arise, can improve emotional intelligence. Research suggests that higher EQ is associated with better relationships, greater career success, improved mental health, and higher overall life satisfaction. The good news is that it's never too late to develop these skills. Music has a unique power over emotions. Few things can shift our emotional state as quickly and reliably as music. A slow, minor key melody can evoke sadness or nostalgia. An upbeat rhythm can energize and uplift. Music engages multiple areas of the brain simultaneously, including regions involved in emotion, memory, movement, and reward. This is why a song can transport you instantly to a specific time and place, bringing back the emotions you felt when you first heard it. Music can also regulate emotions. Many people use music to change or enhance their mood, choosing energizing music when they need motivation, or calming music when they're stressed. Interestingly, even sad music can be pleasurable. Listening to melancholic songs can provide catharsis, allowing you to process difficult emotions in a safe context. Music therapy is used to treat a range of conditions, from depression and anxiety to dementia and trauma, harnessing music's emotional power for healing. The relationship between music and emotion is so fundamental that it appears across all human cultures, suggesting deep evolutionary roots. Emotions can distort memory. When you experience a strong emotion, it tends to make the associated memory more vivid and long-lasting. This is adaptive. Remembering emotionally significant events, especially dangerous or rewarding ones, helps you navigate the world more effectively. However, emotional arousal can also distort memory in interesting ways. Studies show that people tend to remember the central, emotionally salient details of an event very clearly, but may miss or misremember peripheral details. Emotional memories also tend to be more confident than accurate. You feel certain that you remember exactly how something happened, but research on flashbulb memories, those vivid recollections of where you were and what you were doing during major events, shows that these memories are often inaccurate, even though people remain convinced of their accuracy. Negative emotions, particularly stress and trauma, can further complicate memory. While some traumatic events are remembered in excruciating detail, others may be fragmented or even suppressed. The relationship between emotion and memory is complex, with emotion acting as both an enhancer and a distorter of our recollections. Emotional regulation is a crucial life skill. Emotional regulation refers to the processes by which we influence which emotions we have, when we have them, and how we experience and express them. It's one of the most important capabilities you can develop, affecting virtually every area of life, from relationships to career to mental health. And crucially, it doesn't mean suppressing or denying emotions. Suppression, Trying to push down or ignore feelings is actually a form of dysregulation that often backfires, intensifying emotions or causing them to emerge in other ways, through physical symptoms, displaced anger, or emotional outbursts. True regulation is about managing emotions skillfully, responding to them rather than being overwhelmed or controlled by them. There are several evidence-based strategies for emotional regulation, and different strategies work better in different situations. Cognitive reappraisal involves changing how you think about a situation to alter its emotional impact. When you're stuck in traffic and feeling furious, you might reframe it as unexpected time to listen to a podcast you've been wanting to hear. When a friend cancels plans and you feel rejected, you might remind yourself that they have a legitimate reason and it's not about you. This isn't about denying your feelings or forcing false positivity. It's about examining the story you're telling yourself about the situation and considering whether there might be other, less distressing interpretations. Research shows that people who regularly use reappraisal tend to experience more positive emotions, fewer negative emotions, and better social functioning. Distraction can be helpful as a short-term strategy when emotions threaten to overwhelm you and you need to get through a situation. If you're about to give a presentation and feel panic rising, redirecting your attention to something neutral, counting objects in the room, focusing on your breath, can help calm your nervous system enough to function. But distraction isn't a long-term solution. At some point, emotions need to be processed rather than just avoided. Mindfulness involves observing emotions without judgment, creating space between the feeling and your response to it. Instead of, "I'm so angry, I want to yell," mindfulness creates, "I notice I'm feeling angry. I can feel heat in my face and tension in my shoulders. This is an emotion arising, and it will pass." This perspective doesn't eliminate the anger, but it keeps you from being completely identified with it, from being the anger rather than the person experiencing anger. This small shift creates room for choice. You can feel angry and still choose not to yell. You can notice anxiety and still choose to move forward. Mindfulness meditation strengthens this capacity over time, literally changing brain structure in regions associated with emotional regulation. Physical strategies can calm the nervous system directly. Deep, slow breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system that counteracts the fight or flight response. Progressive muscle relaxation, where you systematically tense and release different muscle groups, can release physical tension that's maintaining emotional arousal. Exercise burns off stress hormones and triggers the release of endorphins. Even something as simple as splashing cold water on your face can reset your nervous system when emotions are running high. These body-based strategies recognize that emotions are not just mental events, but full-body experiences. And sometimes the most effective way to shift an emotion is through the body. Social support allows you to process emotions with others, to feel heard and validated, to gain perspective, and to remember you're not alone. Talking through difficult feelings with a trusted friend, writing about them in a journal, or working through them with a therapist can help you make sense of emotions, integrate them, and let them move through you rather than getting stuck. Humans are social creatures. We're not designed to process everything alone. Emotionally intelligent people don't rely on just one strategy. They have a repertoire of regulation techniques and the wisdom to know which one to use when. Sometimes you need to reframe your thinking. Sometimes you need to breathe and calm your body. Sometimes you need to talk it out. Sometimes you need to take action to change the situation causing the emotion. Sometimes you need to simply feel the feeling fully and let it run its course. The key is flexibility, the ability to respond skillfully to the unique demands of each situation. Importantly, Regulation is different from suppression. Trying to push down or ignore emotions typically doesn't work. Suppressed emotions don't disappear. They leak out in unconscious facial expressions, in dreams, in stress-related illnesses, in displaced reactions to minor triggers. Effective regulation acknowledges emotions. Yes, I'm feeling this, while choosing how to respond to them, and here's what I'm going to do about it or with it. It's the difference between denying that you're angry and acknowledging the anger while choosing not to lash out. The first denies reality. The second engages with it skillfully. Emotional regulation is not about being emotionless. It's about being the wise steward of your emotional life, creating the conditions where emotions can serve you rather than derail you. Boredom is an underappreciated emotion. We tend to think of boredom as simply the absence of stimulation, but it's actually an active emotional state with its own characteristics and functions. Boredom involves a lack of interest in current activities, difficulty concentrating, and a sense that time is passing slowly. It's associated with decreased physiological arousal and a wandering mind. While uncomfortable, boredom may serve important functions. It can signal that your current activity is not meeting your needs or goals, motivating you to seek out more engaging or meaningful pursuits. Some researchers suggest that boredom creates space for reflection and creativity. When the mind isn't engaged with external stimuli, it turns inward, making connections and generating ideas. Studies have found that people who engaged in boring tasks before a creativity test perform better than those who engaged in interesting tasks. In our current culture, with constant access to entertainment and information, boredom has become rare, but that may come at a cost. We may be losing opportunities for the kind of unstructured thinking that boredom can facilitate. Emotions are embodied experiences. When you feel anxious, you might notice your heart racing, your palms sweating, or a tightness in your chest. When you feel sad, you might experience heaviness in your limbs or a lump in your throat. These aren't just side effects of emotion. According to some theories, they are the emotion. The James Lang theory of emotion, proposed in the late 19th century, suggested that emotions arise from our perception of bodily changes. In other words, you don't run because you're afraid. You're afraid because you run. While this theory in its pure form has been challenged, modern research supports the idea that bodily sensations play a crucial role in emotional experience. Interoception, the sense of the internal state of your body, is fundamental to how you experience emotions. This is why practices that engage the body, like yoga, dance, or somatic therapy, can be so effective for emotional healing. By changing how you hold and move your body, you can actually shift your emotional state. Contempt is considered the most damaging emotion in relationships. Psychologist John Gottman, who has studied couples for decades, identified contempt as the single greatest predictor of divorce. Contempt goes beyond anger or frustration. It involves treating your partner with disrespect and communicating that they are beneath you. It shows up in sneering, mockery, sarcasm, name-calling, and eye-rolling. What makes contempt so corrosive is that it conveys moral superiority and disgust. It doesn't just say, "You did something wrong." It says, "You are fundamentally flawed, and I am better than you." This creates a toxic dynamic where one partner feels constantly demeaned and the other feels self-righteous. Once contempt becomes a pattern in a relationship, it's very difficult to recover the respect and goodwill necessary for the relationship to thrive. Gottman's research suggests that relationships can survive conflict, even intense conflict, but they struggle to survive contempt. The antidote, he proposes, is building a culture of appreciation and respect, consciously choosing to notice and express gratitude for the positive qualities and actions of your partner, Awe is a self-transcendent emotion. Awe is what you feel when encountering something vast or profound that challenges your understanding of the world. It might be triggered by natural beauty, like standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon or watching a starry night sky. It might arise from great art, music, or acts of extraordinary compassion. Awe is unique among emotions in that it seems to shift your focus away from yourself and towards something larger. Studies show that experiencing awe can reduce self-focus and increase pro-social behavior. People who have just experienced awe are more likely to help others and less likely to feel impatient. Awe also appears to increase feelings of connectedness and reduce materialism. Interestingly, awe has been linked to lower levels of inflammatory markers in the body, suggesting potential health benefits. In our busy, screen-focused lives, opportunities for awe may be diminishing, but research suggests we would benefit from actively seeking out experiences that inspire this powerful, humbling emotion. Emotional memories can be reconsolidated. For a long time, scientists believed that once a memory was formed and consolidated, it remained stable, locked into the architecture of the brain, like a file saved to a hard drive. But research has revealed something far more hopeful and dynamic. Every time you recall a memory, it becomes temporarily unstable and must be reconsolidated or restored. During this window of reconsolidation, which lasts for several hours, the memory is malleable, open to change. This has profound implications for emotional healing. Therapeutic approaches like EMDR, or eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which is used to treat trauma, may work in part by bringing up traumatic memories in a safe context and then allowing them to be reconsolidated with less emotional charge. The bilateral stimulation, whether through eye movements, tapping, or sounds, appears to facilitate this reprocessing. Simply talking about a difficult experience in a supportive environment can gradually change how that memory is stored, making it less painful over time. Each time you revisit the memory with a therapist or trusted friend, you're not just reviewing it, you're actually changing it slightly, softening its edges, integrating it into a broader narrative that includes your resilience and growth. This process explains why exposure therapy can work for phobias. When you safely encounter the feared object or situation repeatedly, you're creating new associations and allowing the fear memory to be reconsolidated with the information that you survived, that you were safe. The original memory doesn't disappear, but its emotional intensity can be significantly reduced. This doesn't mean memories can be easily erased or completely rewritten. The basic facts usually remain, but it does mean they're not as fixed as we once thought. The emotional weight of a memory, the way it makes you feel when you think about it, can be reduced through repeated, safe revisiting and processing. Time really can heal, especially when combined with intentional reflection and support. Your memories are not permanent scars, but living things that can be tended and transformed. The negativity bias shapes our emotional landscape. Human brains are wired to pay more attention to negative information than positive information. One harsh criticism can outweigh 10 compliments. A single frightening experience can create a lasting fear, while many safe experiences may be needed to overcome it. This negativity bias made sense for our ancestors. Noticing and remembering threats was more important for survival than noticing pleasant experiences. Better to assume the rustling in the bushes is a predator and be wrong than to assume it's harmless and be wrong. But in the modern world, this bias can lead to disproportionate anxiety, pessimism, and stress. We overestimate dangers and underestimate our resilience. Understanding the negativity bias can help you counter it. You can consciously practice noticing positive experiences, savoring them, and giving them weight. Gratitude practices work in part by counteracting our natural tendency to focus on what's wrong rather than what's right. It's not about denying negative realities, but about creating a more balanced perspective. Compassion fatigue is a real phenomenon. People in caring professions, like healthcare workers, therapists, social workers, and even parents, can experience compassion fatigue, a state of physical and emotional exhaustion that results from prolonged exposure to others' suffering. It's characterized by decreased empathy, increased irritability, difficulty concentrating, and a sense of helplessness. Compassion fatigue occurs when the demands of caring exceed a person's resources for coping. Unlike burnout, which is about exhaustion from work in general, compassion fatigue is specifically tied to the emotional toll of empathizing with others' pain. The challenge is that compassion is essential for these roles, but without adequate support and self-care, it can deplete a person's emotional reserves. Preventing and recovering from compassion fatigue involves setting boundaries, seeking support, practicing self-compassion, and engaging in activities that restore emotional energy. It's a reminder that caring for others requires caring for yourself, and that empathy, while valuable, needs to be sustainable. Emotions don't have to control you. One of the most empowering insights from psychology and neuroscience is that while you can't always control which emotions arise, you can develop the ability to choose how you respond to them. This is the space between stimulus and response that Viktor Frankl wrote about. When an emotion arises, there's a moment before you act on it where you can pause and make a choice. This pause is where emotional regulation, mindfulness, and cognitive reappraisal come in. It's where you can notice, I'm feeling angry, without immediately lashing out, or I'm feeling anxious, without automatically avoiding what scares you. Developing this capacity takes practice. Meditation and mindfulness training can strengthen the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for self-regulation. Therapy can help you understand your emotional patterns and develop healthier responses. Simply increasing your emotional vocabulary, learning more nuanced words to describe what you're feeling, can increase the gap between feeling and action, giving you more agency over your emotional life. You are not your emotions. You are the one who experiences them, and with practice, you can learn to surf them skillfully rather than being swept away. Joy is different from happiness. Though often used interchangeably, joy and happiness are distinct experiences. Happiness is generally considered a state of well-being characterized by positive emotions and life satisfaction. It's often tied to circumstances and tends to be relatively stable over time. Joy, on the other hand, is an intense, often brief feeling of delight and elation. It's what you feel in moments of pure connection, beauty, or triumph. Joy is less about circumstances and more about presence, about being fully engaged with a particular moment. Interestingly, research suggests that you can experience joy even in the midst of difficult circumstances, while happiness may be harder to maintain. A person dealing with serious illness might not describe themselves as happy, but might still experience moments of joy, a child's laughter, a beautiful sunset, a meaningful conversation. Joy often arises unexpectedly, less as something you pursue and more as something you notice. Cultivating joy might be less about changing your circumstances and more about developing the capacity to be present to the moments of beauty and connection that exist even in challenging times. Loneliness is an emotional signal, not a character flaw. Humans are social creatures. Throughout our evolutionary history, belonging to a group was essential for survival. Loneliness is the painful emotional signal that tells you that your need for social connection is not being met. It's as fundamental as hunger or thirst, a biological prompt to seek out the companionship and support of others. Unfortunately, in many cultures, loneliness carries stigma. People feel ashamed of being lonely, which often makes them withdraw further, creating a vicious cycle. But loneliness is not a personal failing, it's information. It tells you that you need more connection, or perhaps deeper connection, in your life. Like physical pain that prompts you to remove your hand from a hot stove, emotional pain prompts you to address an unmet need. The challenge is that modern life can make meaningful connection difficult. We may be surrounded by people but still feel isolated. We may have many online connections but lack face-to-face intimacy. Addressing loneliness often requires intentional effort to build and maintain genuine relationships, to be vulnerable, to reach out even when it feels uncomfortable. Gratitude is one of the most powerful, positive emotions. Research on gratitude has exploded in recent decades, revealing that this seemingly simple emotion has profound and far-reaching effects on well-being, relationships, and even physical health. People who regularly practice gratitude, whether through journaling, meditation, or simply making a habit of noticing what they appreciate, report significantly higher levels of happiness and life satisfaction. They experience lower levels of depression and anxiety. They sleep better, falling asleep more quickly, and enjoying deeper, more restful sleep. Their relationships tend to be stronger and more satisfying, perhaps because expressing gratitude makes others feel valued and strengthens bonds. But the benefits extend beyond mood and relationships into the realm of physical health. Studies have found that people who practice gratitude have stronger immune systems, lower blood pressure, fewer aches and pains, and are more likely to engage in healthy behaviors like exercise. Some research suggests they even have different patterns of heart rate variability, a marker of cardiac health and stress resilience. They tend to take better care of themselves, perhaps because gratitude fosters a sense that life is precious and worth preserving. Gratitude works through several mechanisms. It shifts your focus from what you lack to what you have, from problems to blessings, from grievances to gifts. This isn't about denying difficulties or pretending everything is perfect. It's about consciously balancing your natural negativity bias with deliberate attention to the positive. Every day contains both difficulties and small graces, frustrations and moments of beauty. Without intentional effort, the brain's default is to fixate on the difficulties. Gratitude practice counteracts this, training your attention to also notice the good. Gratitude also counteracts the hedonic treadmill, that well-documented tendency to quickly adapt to positive changes and return to your baseline level of happiness. When you get a raise or buy something you've wanted, the initial pleasure fades quickly as you adapt to the new normal and begin wanting the next thing. Gratitude interrupts this cycle by deliberately appreciating what you already have, by savoring it rather than taking it for granted. You extract more lasting satisfaction from the good things in your life. The practice of gratitude doesn't have to be complicated or time-consuming. It can be as simple as writing down 3 things you're grateful for each day. Research by psychologist Robert Emmons and others has shown that people who kept gratitude journals for just a few weeks showed measurable improvements in well-being that persisted even after they stopped journaling. The key seems to be specificity and genuineness. Rather than listing generic things, I'm grateful for my family, my health, my job. Try noting specific moments. I'm grateful for the way my daughter laughed this morning. I'm grateful that my body can walk upstairs without pain. I'm grateful for the coworker who helped me solve that problem. Expressing appreciation directly to people in your life amplifies the benefits. Telling someone specifically what you appreciate about them or what they've done for you not only makes them feel valued, but deepens your own sense of connection and gratitude. Gratitude letters or visits, where you write a detailed letter thanking someone for their impact on your life and ideally read it to them in person, have been shown to create lasting increases in happiness for both the writer and recipient. Even pausing to notice small moments of beauty or kindness throughout the day can cultivate gratitude. The warmth of sunlight through a window, the taste of your morning coffee, a stranger holding the door. These tiny moments are happening all the time, but they slip by unnoticed unless you pause to register them. What makes gratitude particularly powerful as an emotional skill is that it's trainable. Unlike personality traits that remain relatively stable, gratitude can be developed through consistent practice. The more you practice noticing what you appreciate, the more naturally it arises. Neural pathways strengthen with use. Over time, gratitude can shift from an effortful exercise to a habitual way of perceiving the world, a lens through which you see not just the problems and lacks, but also the abundance and beauty that coexist with them. In this way, gratitude becomes not just a practice, but a way of being, a fundamental orientation toward life that recognizes its preciousness, even in its imperfection. Emotions are contagious even through screens. Emotional contagion doesn't require physical presence. Studies have shown that emotions can spread through social networks, both online and offline. When your friends post happy content on social media, you're more likely to post happy content yourself. When they post negative or anxious content, that can influence your emotional state as well. This has important implications in our increasingly digital world. The content you consume, the social media you engage with, the news you watch, all of these influence your emotional state. Algorithms often prioritize content that generates strong emotional reactions, particularly anger and outrage, because these emotions drive engagement. But consuming a steady diet of emotionally charged content can take a toll on your well-being. Being intentional about your media consumption, curating your social media feeds, taking breaks from the news, and balancing heavy content with uplifting or neutral content can help you maintain emotional equilibrium in a world designed to provoke strong reactions. Emotions in dreams serve important functions. Dreams are often emotionally charged, sometimes intensely so. You might wake from a dream feeling anxious, sad, or exhilarated, even if you can't remember the details. Scientists believe that the emotional processing that occurs during dreaming, particularly during REM sleep, plays a crucial role in emotional regulation and memory consolidation. During sleep, the brain appears to replay emotional experiences, but in a neurochemical environment that's different from waking. Stress hormones are suppressed during REM sleep, which may allow you to process emotional memories without being overwhelmed by them. This is sometimes called overnight therapy. If you've ever gone to bed upset and woken feeling calmer, this nocturnal emotional processing may be part of the reason. Recurring nightmares and disturbed dreaming are often associated with unprocessed trauma, suggesting that when the emotional processing function of dreams is disrupted, psychological distress can result. While we're still unraveling the mysteries of dreams, it's clear that they play an important role in our emotional lives. Hope is an emotion that looks toward the future, while many emotions are responses to present or past events. Hope is fundamentally forward-looking. It's the belief that positive outcomes are possible, that things can get better, that your efforts matter. Hope is not the same as optimism, which is a general expectation that good things will happen. Hope is more specific. It involves having goals, believing those goals are achievable, and being able to identify pathways to reach them. Psychologist C.R. Snyder described hope as having three components: goals, agency, the belief that you can influence outcomes, and pathways, the ability to develop strategies to reach your goals. Research shows that hope is associated with better academic and athletic performance, greater resilience in the face of setbacks, lower levels of depression, and better health outcomes. Importantly, hope can be cultivated. Setting realistic goals, breaking them down into achievable steps, reflecting on past successes, and seeking support can all strengthen hope. In difficult times, hope can be a lifeline, the emotional fuel that keeps you moving forward when circumstances are challenging. Emotional numbing can be a response to overwhelm. When emotions become too intense or prolonged, sometimes the mind protects itself by shutting down emotional responses altogether. This is called emotional numbing or dissociation. It's common in the aftermath of trauma, during severe depression, or in response to chronic stress. While numbing provides temporary relief from overwhelming pain, it comes at a cost. When you numb difficult emotions, you also numb positive ones. Life can start to feel flat, colorless, meaningless. Relationships suffer because connection requires emotional presence. Numbing can also prevent processing and healing, keeping you stuck in survival mode. Recovery often involves gradually and safely allowing yourself to feel again, which can be frightening when you've been protecting yourself through numbing. Therapy, particularly trauma-informed approaches, can provide a safe container for this process. The goal is not to be overwhelmed by emotions, but to develop the capacity to feel them in manageable doses, to process them, and to let them move through you rather than becoming stuck or shut down. Micro-expressions reveal true feelings. Micro-expressions are brief, involuntary facial expressions that flash across the face in less than half a second, often before a person has consciously processed their emotion. They reveal genuine feelings that a person might be trying to conceal. Psychologist Paul Ekman studied these fleeting expressions extensively and found that they correspond to the basic emotions: happiness, sadness, fear, anger, surprise, and disgust. Because micro-expressions are unconscious, they're much harder to fake than longer expressions. Someone might smile while saying they're happy, but a micro-expression of sadness or disgust might flicker across their face first, revealing their true feelings. While most people aren't consciously aware of micro-expressions, we may pick up on them unconsciously, contributing to those gut feelings that someone isn't being entirely truthful or that something is off. With training, it's possible to learn to consciously notice micro-expressions, a skill used by therapists, interrogators, and negotiators to better understand the people they're working with. Seasonal changes affect emotions. Many people notice that their moods shift with the seasons. This isn't just imagination. Seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, is a recognized condition where people experience depressive symptoms during particular seasons, most commonly winter. The reduced sunlight in winter months affects the production of serotonin, a neurotransmitter that regulates mood, and melatonin, which affects sleep and energy. For some people, this leads to significant depression, characterized by low energy, increased sleep, weight gain, and loss of interest in activities. Light therapy, which involves exposure to bright artificial light, can be an effective treatment. But even people without diagnosable SAD often notice mood variations with the seasons. Spring and summer, with their longer days and warmer weather, tend to bring increased energy and sociability for many people. Fall might bring nostalgia, or melancholy. Being aware of these patterns can help you plan accordingly, perhaps being extra intentional about self-care and connection during months when your mood tends to dip. Pride can be authentic or hubristic. Not all pride is created equal. Psychologists distinguish between authentic pride and hubristic pride. Authentic pride arises from specific accomplishments or behaviors. I worked hard on this project and did well. I'm proud of my effort. This type of pride is tied to effort and achievement, is associated with pro-social behavior, and tends to motivate continued growth. Hubristic pride, on the other hand, is tied to the self. I'm better than others. I'm just naturally talented. This type of pride is associated with arrogance, narcissism, and interpersonal problems. Interestingly, the facial expressions and body language of the two types of pride are slightly different. Authentic pride tends to involve a genuine smile and an upright but not dominating posture. Hubristic pride often involves a smug expression and an exaggerated dominating posture. Understanding this distinction can help you cultivate the healthy pride that comes from genuine accomplishment while avoiding the pitfalls of arrogance and entitlement. Empathy has limits and costs. Empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person, to imagine yourself in their situation and feel what they might be feeling, is often held up as an unqualified good, one of the highest human virtues. And in many ways, it genuinely is. Empathy helps us connect with others across differences. It motivates compassion and helping behavior, driving us to relieve others' suffering. It's fundamental to healthy relationships, allowing us to attune to our partners, children, and friends, to sense what they need, even when they can't articulate it. Without empathy, we would be isolated in our own subjective experiences, unable to truly reach across the divide between one consciousness and another. But empathy also has significant limitations that are important to understand. First, it's biased. It's far easier to feel empathy for people who are similar to us, people who look like us, talk like us, share our cultural background, or whose experiences we can easily imagine ourselves having. We feel more empathy for one identified individual than for large groups, even when the group's suffering is objectively greater. This is why stories of single victims often motivate more helping than statistics about thousands. Our empathy is disproportionately directed toward those who are psychologically close to us, and this can lead to moral blindness about those who fall outside our circle of concern. Empathy can also be exhausting and depleting. As we discussed with compassion fatigue, the constant emotional labor of feeling others' pain takes a toll. Healthcare workers, therapists, social workers, teachers, parents, anyone whose role involves regular attunement to others' suffering can find their capacity for empathy gradually eroded. They may become numb, irritable, or cynical, not because they don't care, but because their system is overwhelmed. The emotional demands exceed their resources for processing and recovery. Moreover, empathy can sometimes lead us morally astray. When we feel strong empathy for one person, we may make decisions that favor them over others who might have greater need, or where more good could be done. A doctor might give special treatment to a patient whose story particularly moved them, even when other patients are more critically ill. A judge might be swayed by a compelling personal narrative, letting empathy override considerations of justice or fairness. Empathy can be manipulated. Skilled communicators can craft narratives designed to evoke empathy for their cause, while obscuring the larger context or the experiences of others affected. Some psychologists, notably Paul Bloom, have argued that compassion might be a more sustainable and less biased alternative to empathy. Compassion involves caring about someone's suffering and wanting to help. but without necessarily feeling their pain yourself. It creates some emotional distance that allows you to remain functional and make clearer decisions. A compassionate doctor can care deeply about their patient's well-being while maintaining the professional boundary that allows them to function effectively and continue helping others. A compassionate friend can support you through difficulty without being pulled into the same emotional overwhelm. The point is not to abandon empathy, which remains a valuable capacity and an important source of moral motivation, but it is to understand its strengths and limitations, to recognize that empathy alone is not sufficient for moral action and can sometimes even hinder it. Effective moral functioning requires integrating empathy with other capacities, fairness, the ability to consider principles and rules that apply equally to all, reason, the capacity to step back and analyze situations objectively, compassion, which is less emotionally costly than empathy, and practical wisdom, knowing when to prioritize different values and how to act effectively in complex situations. We need empathy to connect and to care, but we also need the wisdom to recognize when empathy needs to be balanced with other considerations, when our natural empathic responses might be leading us astray, and when we need to care for ourselves so we can continue caring for others. Empathy is a powerful tool, but like any tool, it needs to be used skillfully, with awareness of both its capabilities and its limitations. Attachment styles shape adult emotions. The way you bonded with your primary caregivers in infancy influences your emotional patterns in adult relationships in ways that are both subtle and profound. Psychologists have identified several attachment styles, patterns that emerge from those earliest relationships and echo through your life. Secure attachment develops when caregivers are consistently responsive and comforting. When a baby cries and the caregiver reliably comes, offering warmth and soothing, the baby learns that the world is a safe place and that their needs matter. These children grow into adults who are comfortable with both intimacy and independence. They can be close to others without losing themselves, and they can be alone without feeling abandoned. They tend to have positive views of themselves and others, handle conflict constructively, and recover relatively quickly from relationship difficulties. Anxious attachment develops when caregivers are inconsistent in their responses. Sometimes they're warm and attentive, other times distant or dismissive, often depending on their own emotional state rather than the child's needs. This unpredictability creates anxiety. The child never knows if their needs will be met, so they develop hypervigilance about relationships. These children grow into adults who crave closeness but worry constantly about being abandoned. They may need frequent reassurance, become distressed when partners seem distant, interpret ambiguous situations as rejections, and have difficulty trusting that love will last. They often feel they love more than they're loved in return. Avoidant attachment develops when caregivers are emotionally distant, rejecting, or consistently unresponsive to the child's emotional needs. The child learns that seeking comfort is futile or even punished, so they stop reaching out. They learn to rely only on themselves. These children grow into adults who value independence intensely and may struggle with intimacy. They may feel uncomfortable when partners want closeness, maintain emotional walls, have difficulty expressing vulnerability, and sometimes seem cold or distant even when they care deeply. They've learned that needing others is dangerous, so they pride themselves on not needing anyone. Disorganized attachment develops in chaotic, frightening, or abusive environments, where the caregiver is sometimes a source of fear rather than comfort. The child faces an impossible dilemma. They need the caregiver for survival, but the caregiver is also frightening. This creates profound confusion about relationships. These children grow into adults with conflicted approaches to intimacy. They may desperately want closeness while simultaneously fearing it, approach while pushing away, seem unpredictable in relationships, and struggle with emotional regulation and trust. These patterns are not destiny, they're tendencies, deeply ingrained but not unchangeable, default settings that can be shifted through awareness and effort. Awareness is the first step. When you understand your attachment style, you can start to recognize when old patterns are playing out in current relationships. You can notice when you're reading abandonment into a neutral situation, or when you're pulling away from genuine connection out of old fear. Therapy, particularly approaches like emotion-focused therapy or attachment-based therapy, can help rewire these patterns. Healing relationships, where a partner or friend consistently offers a different experience than what you learn to expect, can also gradually shift your attachment style towards security. Your past shapes you, but it doesn't imprison you. The neural pathways laid down in childhood are strong, but the brain remains plastic throughout life. New experiences can create new pathways. With time, patience, and often professional support, even deeply ingrained attachment patterns can heal. You can learn, at any age, that you are worthy of love, that others can be trusted, that closeness doesn't mean losing yourself, and that vulnerability can be safe. The work is not easy, but it's possible. And understanding your attachment style can shed light on why you respond emotionally the way you do in relationships, offering a map for the journey toward more secure, satisfying connections. Emotions play a role in moral judgment. When you judge something as right or wrong, emotions are involved, often more than rational analysis. Disgust, as mentioned earlier, can influence moral judgments, making us view certain actions as wrong, even when we struggle to articulate a logical reason. Empathy influences our moral judgments as well. We're more likely to judge harming someone as wrong when we can empathize with their suffering. Anger drives judgments about fairness and justice. Guilt and shame regulate our own behavior, prompting us to align our actions with our moral values. Psychologist Jonathan Haidt argues that moral judgments are often like aesthetic judgments, immediate emotional responses that we then rationalize after the fact. This doesn't mean morality is purely subjective, but it does mean that understanding the emotional underpinnings of moral judgment can help us reflect more carefully on our beliefs and be more understanding of why people might disagree. Our feelings of right and wrong are not just intellectual conclusions. They're embodied, emotional responses shaped by evolution, culture, and personal experience. Curiosity is an underappreciated emotion. We don't often think of curiosity as an emotion, but it is. It's that feeling of wanting to know more, to explore, to understand. Curiosity drives learning, creativity, and discovery. It's what motivates a child to take apart a toy to see how it works, a scientist to pursue a research question, or a traveler to explore a new place. Research shows that curiosity has numerous benefits. It's associated with greater happiness, better relationships, improved academic performance, and even increased longevity. Curious people tend to be more open-minded and less susceptible to stereotypes. They engage more deeply with the world and are more likely to find meaning and purpose in life. Interestingly, curiosity is self-reinforcing. The more you learn, the more you realize there is to learn, which fuels further curiosity. Cultivating curiosity can be as simple as asking more questions, reading widely, trying new things, and maintaining a beginner's mind, an attitude of openness and eagerness, even in familiar situations. Emotions are not irrational. There's a long-standing cultural bias that views emotions as opposed to reason, as irrational forces that lead us astray. But this is a false dichotomy. Emotions are not irrational. They're differently rational. They provide information based on rapid pattern recognition, past experience, and bodily signals. They often arise faster than conscious thought, which can make them seem impulsive. But that speed served important survival functions. The key is integration. The most effective functioning comes not from suppressing emotion in favor of pure logic, or from following every emotional impulse, but from integrating emotional information with rational analysis. When making a decision, you might consider both the logical pros and cons and your gut feeling. When solving a conflict, you might validate the emotions involved while also working toward a practical solution. Modern neuroscience has shown that the brain doesn't have separate emotional and rational systems that compete. Rather, emotion and cognition are deeply intertwined, working together to help you navigate the world. Respecting and understanding your emotions, rather than dismissing them, leads to wiser choices. The body keeps the score. This insight, powerfully articulated by psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk in his groundbreaking work on trauma, captures a profound truth about how traumatic experiences are stored, not just in explicit memory, the conscious recollection of events, but in the body itself, in implicit memory encoded in the nervous system, muscles, and visceral organs. People who have experienced trauma, whether from a single overwhelming event or from chronic adverse experiences, often have physical symptoms that seem disconnected from any current medical condition. They might experience chronic pain that has no apparent physical cause, digestive problems, irritable bowel syndrome, constant nausea without identifiable disease, persistent tension, especially in the jaw, shoulders, and neck, numbness or tingling, hypersensitivity to touch or sound, feeling constantly on edge, or conversely, feeling disconnected and numb. These are not imagined symptoms. They're the body's way of holding on to unprocessed trauma, of continuing to respond to threats that are no longer present. Trauma can fundamentally dysregulate the nervous system, leaving a person stuck in one of the survival states. Some people become hypervigilant, their sympathetic nervous system chronically activated, constantly scanning for danger, startling easily, unable to relax even in safe environments. Their bodies are perpetually prepared for fight or flight, muscles tensed, heart rate elevated, stress hormones coursing through their system. Others become shut down, their dorsal vagal system activated, leaving them numb, disconnected, feeling like they're watching life from behind glass. This is the freeze or collapse response, and it can manifest as depression, dissociation, or an inability to feel much of anything. What makes trauma particularly insidious is that it often resists traditional talk therapy alone. You can understand intellectually what happened to you. You can make sense of the narrative. But if your body is still responding, as if the threat continues, if your nervous system hasn't received the message that the danger is past, understanding alone may not be enough. This is because traumatic memories are often stored differently from ordinary memories. During overwhelming experiences, the brain regions involved in language and conscious processing, particularly Broca's area, can go offline. The experience gets encoded primarily in sensory and emotional fragments, images, sounds, body sensations, feelings of terror without the coherent narrative structure of normal memory. Later, these fragments can be triggered by sensory reminders, a certain smell, a sound, a physical sensation, causing the person to re-experience the trauma in their body even without consciously remembering it. This understanding has led to the development of body-based trauma therapies that work directly with the nervous system and somatic experience. EMDR, or eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, uses bilateral stimulation to help the brain reprocess traumatic memories, integrating them in a way that reduces their emotional charge. Somatic experiencing, developed by Peter Levine, focuses on helping the body complete defensive responses that were interrupted during the trauma, allowing the nervous system to discharge the frozen energy and return to regulation. Sensorimotor psychotherapy combines talk therapy with attention to body sensations, helping clients track how trauma manifests physically and develop new somatic resources. Yoga, particularly trauma-sensitive yoga, has shown promise in helping trauma survivors reconnect with their bodies in safe ways, learning that they can inhabit their body without being overwhelmed. That physical sensation doesn't always signal danger. Mindfulness practices, when adapted for trauma, can help people develop the capacity to be present with their experience, without dissociating or being flooded. Even practices like martial arts, dance, or theater can help by giving people safe ways to experience empowerment, agency, and aliveness in their bodies. The core insight is that healing from trauma is not just about changing your thoughts or understanding what happened, though both can be helpful. It's fundamentally about helping your body feel safe again, about teaching your nervous system that the danger is past, that you survived, that you can now relax the vigilance or come back from the numbness. It's about restoring a sense of agency, the felt sense that you can affect your environment and protect yourself. It's about learning to be in your body again without it feeling like a trap or a source of pain. This work is not quick or easy. Trauma changes the brain, the nervous system, the very cells of the body. Healing requires patience, skilled support, and tremendous courage. But it is possible. The body that kept the score, that held onto the trauma in an attempt to protect you, can also be the path to healing. By working directly with the body, by addressing not just the story, but the somatic reality of trauma, survivors can gradually discharge the frozen energy, restore regulation to their nervous system, and reclaim the sense of safety and aliveness that trauma took from them. The body remembers the wounds, yes, but it also has an innate drive toward healing, toward wholeness, toward return to its natural state of balance and resilience. Technology is changing how we experience and express emotions. The rise of digital communication has created new contexts for emotional expression. Text messages, emojis, GIFs, and social media posts are now primary ways many people communicate feelings. This has both benefits and drawbacks. Digital communication can help maintain relationships across distances and provide platforms for support. But text-based communication lacks many of the cues we rely on to understand emotions, tone of voice, facial expressions, body language. This can lead to misunderstandings. A message intended as playful might be read as serious. A delay in response might be interpreted as anger when it's just a busy schedule. Social media also creates new emotional dynamics. The curated nature of most social media can lead to comparison and envy as you see others' highlight reels and compare them to your behind the scenes. The constant connectivity can be overwhelming, making it harder to disconnect and process emotions privately. Being mindful of how digital communication affects your emotional life and making conscious choices about how and when to engage can help you navigate this new landscape. Emotional expression differs across genders for cultural, not biological reasons. While there may be some biological differences in emotional experience between males and females, the large differences in emotional expression are primarily cultural. In many Western societies, boys are socialized to suppress emotions like sadness and fear, which are seen as weak, while expressing anger, which is seen as strong. Girls are often socialized to be more emotionally expressive, especially of vulnerable emotions, but may be discouraged from expressing anger, which is seen as unfeminine. These gendered emotional norms can be harmful. Men who suppress vulnerable emotions may struggle with connection and have higher rates of certain mental health issues and suicide. Women who suppress anger may struggle to advocate for themselves and set boundaries. The good news is that, as awareness of these patterns grows, many people are working to expand the emotional range they allow themselves and others. Emotions are human, not gendered. Everyone benefits from being able to access and express the full spectrum of feelings. Forgiveness is primarily for the forgiver. When someone has hurt you deeply, forgiveness can feel impossible or even wrong. Why should you let them off the hook? But forgiveness is not primarily about the other person. It's about freeing yourself from the ongoing burden of resentment and anger. Holding on to grudges and replaying past hurts keeps you emotionally tied to the person who hurt you and to the painful past. It activates your stress response repeatedly, taking a toll on your mental and physical health. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning what happened or reconciling with the person. You can forgive someone and still maintain boundaries or even end the relationship. Forgiveness means releasing the desire for revenge and the constant rehearsal of the wrong. It means choosing to stop letting that person and that event have power over your present emotional state. It's a process, often a long one, not a single decision. And it's one of the most profound acts of self-compassion you can undertake. Awe can arise from darkness as well as light. While we often associate awe with beauty and grandeur, research shows that awe can also arise from confronting the darker aspects of existence. This is sometimes called dark awe or existential awe. Contemplating mortality, the vastness of time, or the suffering in the world can evoke a sense of awe mixed with fear or sadness. This type of awe can be uncomfortable, but it also has value. It can deepen your appreciation for life, motivate you to live more meaningfully, and connect you to the human condition. Throughout history, art, literature, and spiritual practices have used dark awe to provoke reflection and transformation. A stark war memorial, a tragedy depicted in theatre, contemplation of death in meditation. These experiences shake us out of our everyday concerns and confront us with larger truths. While we might naturally gravitate toward the pleasurable forms of awe, there is wisdom in allowing ourselves to be moved by the difficult and the profound as well. Resilience is built through emotional processing. Resilience, the ability to bounce back from adversity, is not about being tough or unemotional. In fact, research suggests that emotional processing is key to developing resilience. When difficult things happen, people who try to suppress or avoid their emotions tend to struggle more in the long term. Those who allow themselves to feel, to cry, to be angry or afraid, and who process those emotions through talking, writing, or other forms of expression tend to recover more fully. This is because unprocessed emotions don't just disappear. They remain in your system, affecting your body, your thoughts, and your behavior in ways you might not realize. Processing emotions allows you to make meaning of difficult experiences, integrate them into your life story, and eventually move forward. Resilience also involves maintaining connections with others, practicing self-compassion, finding purpose, and taking action where possible. But at its core, resilience requires facing your feelings rather than running from them. Emotional vocabulary matters. The words you have to describe your emotions influence how you experience and manage them. This is called emotional granularity. Someone with high emotional granularity can distinguish between similar emotions like irritation, frustration, and anger, or between sadness, disappointment, and grief. Someone with low granularity might just feel bad or upset without being able to pinpoint the specific emotion. Research shows that higher emotional granularity is associated with better emotional regulation, less reactivity to stress, and better mental health. This makes sense. If you can precisely identify what you're feeling, you're better equipped to address the underlying need or cause. If you realize you're feeling disappointed rather than angry, you might respond differently. If you can distinguish between anxiety about a specific situation and generalized worry, you can take more targeted action. Expanding your emotional vocabulary is a simple but powerful way to increase emotional intelligence. Reading literature, especially fiction, that explores characters' inner lives can help. So can simply pausing to ask yourself, what exactly am I feeling right now? And searching for the most precise word. Positive emotions broaden and build, while negative emotions tend to narrow your focus and prepare you for specific actions like fight or flight. Positive emotions have the opposite effect. Psychologist Barbara Fredrickson's broaden and build theory suggests that positive emotions like joy, interest, and contentment broaden your thinking and your possible actions. When you feel good, you're more creative, more open to new ideas, more willing to take risks, and more likely to engage socially. This broadened state then builds lasting personal resources. Playful experiences in childhood build physical and social skills. Curiosity builds knowledge. Love builds attachment and social support networks. Over time, the benefits of positive emotions accumulate, creating upward spirals. People who experience frequent positive emotions tend to become more resilient, more socially connected, and more successful. This doesn't mean you should try to be positive all the time or suppress negative emotions. Negative emotions serve important functions, but it does suggest that cultivating positive emotions through gratitude, savoring pleasant experiences, nurturing relationships, and engaging in activities you find meaningful has lasting benefits beyond just feeling good in the moment. The emotional wisdom of the body should not be ignored. Your body often knows things before your conscious mind catches up. That uneasy feeling in your stomach when something seems off, the way your heart lifts when you see a particular person, the tension in your shoulders when you're in a stressful environment. These bodily signals are part of your emotional guidance system. Learning to tune into them, to pay attention to what your body is telling you, can provide valuable information. This is not about making decisions based purely on gut feelings, but about including somatic information as part of your decision-making process. Practices like body scan meditations can help you develop greater interoceptive awareness, the ability to sense what's happening inside your body. Over time, you might notice patterns. Perhaps certain situations consistently create tension in your jaw or lightness in your chest. These patterns can guide you toward what nourishes you and away from what depletes you. Your emotions are not just happening in your head, they're happening in your entire organism, and learning to listen to your whole self can lead to wiser, more integrated living. And now, the landscape of emotion begins to blur at its edges. We've wandered through 100 quiet truths, from the firing of neurons to the tears on your cheeks, from the first cries of infancy to the complex feelings of adulthood, from the ancient evolutionary roots to the modern digital manifestations. You've explored the chemistry of joy and the purpose of fear. You've considered how emotions shape memories, influence health, and connect us to one another. You've learned that emotions are not weaknesses to be overcome, but information to be understood. Not irrational forces, but sources of wisdom. Not just private experiences, but shared currents that flow through all of humanity. You are an emotional being. This is not a flaw, but a fundamental part of what makes you human. Every feeling you've ever had, from the most expansive joy to the deepest sorrow, has been part of your journey, part of how you make sense of the world and your place in it. The anger that signaled injustice, the fear that kept you safe, the love that connected you to others, the sadness that marked what mattered, even the uncomfortable emotions, the shame, the anxiety, the loneliness. These too carry messages pointing toward needs, values, and the ongoing work of becoming who you are. Tonight, as you rest, your emotional system continues its quiet work, processing the day's experiences, sorting memories, preparing you for tomorrow. Your brain is bathing in neurochemicals, building and pruning connections, weaving the day's emotions into the larger story of your life. You are not separate from this process. You are this process, a living, feeling being, forever unfolding, forever learning to navigate the beautiful complexity of being human in a world that offers both sorrow and wonder, both struggle and grace. If you're still awake, you can continue to the next chapter. But for now, let yourself drift. Let the weight of the day dissolve. Let your breathing deepen and slow. You are safe. You are held. And whatever you felt today, whatever emotions move through you, you are exactly where you need to be. If this gentle exploration brought you some peace or helped you understand yourself a little better, consider liking and subscribing to Whispered Knowledge. Your support helps these quiet journeys reach others who might need them. Sleep well, dream softly. Good night.